today we're going to dive into artificial intelligence, the final tool. So I'm going to start out with a bit of a story about a woman named Sarah. She's just like you and I, except that the world that Sarah lives in is just a bit different than our own. So let's dive into her world. Sarah just got dropped off at home in her autonomous car that immediately after dropping her off, left to the local dealership for its 5,000-mile oil change because it just knew that's what it was supposed to do. It would be back the next morning at the most appropriate time to pick her up, to take her to the airport for her 2-week vacation, because it integrates with her calendar, knows exactly her schedule. As Sarah walks up to her doorstep, she collects her daily grocery delivery from the secured lockbox to the side of her patio that the drones had delivered just hours before. And as she walks inside, she's greeted by the voice of Karen, her virtual smart home assistant that runs every aspect of her daily life. As Sarah unwinds from her day, Karen says, "I've cleared your calendar for the next 2 weeks because you're going on a trip to sunny Mexico." Sarah had completely forgotten that she was actually going on this trip because Karen had already taken care of the hotel reservation, Karen had taken care of the rental car, and had taken care of the flight details at the most appropriate cost based on Sarah's past trip history. Karen also informed her that she sent her favorite blouse off to the local dry cleaning because the sensors in the blouse reported a lower than normal cleanliness level. Could you imagine telling your pants to go clean themselves? That's going to save me so much time in the future. The blouse would also be ready for pickup right when Karen got to the airport at the most appropriate time based on her schedule and her flight details. And in all this, Sarah realizes that I forgot to buy a birthday gift for my sister tomorrow. We've all done this, forgot a gift for somebody, friend, spouse, grandparent. So Sarah asked Karen, "Can you buy my sister a gift?" And within seconds, Karen has recommended a gift based on a social media post that her sister made just days before, cross-referenced that across multiple websites to find the cheapest option, and then found the most cost-effective overnight delivery. Done. Karen began to tell Sarah, "Check your grocery bag." So as Sarah begins to unpack her groceries, she sees that she has an extra amount of toothpaste and laundry sheets because the smart home sensors determined that you're low on this, so Karen just took care of it. And as she keeps digging through her grocery delivery, she finds smaller sizes of toothpaste, shampoo, and conditioner because Karen knew that she'd be on vacation, so automatically ordered that for her so she didn't have to worry about it. And to cap this all off, Karen told Sarah, "You need to go to bed at approximately 10 p.m. so you can wake up in time for your flight, based on the traffic data, because everything's integrated now, to have the lowest amount of jet lag based on where you're going." So at this point, Sarah relies on Karen for everything. Every aspect of her daily life, Karen can help with in an instant, because Karen's connected to the global IoT network and has access to information on demand. Now, Sarah often wondered to herself, what must the world have been like before Karen, before IoT, before AI? And the only answer that she could come up with is that it must have really sucked. So, does this sound a bit off the wall? Because as I began thinking about this, it sure did to me. Living in a world where everything can be taken care of by technology. But the truth is, we're already living in a world where a lot of these technologies exist. Think about it. We have smart assistants like Alexa, Google Assistant, Siri, Cortana. We have the Internet of Things. We have machine learning, deep learning. We have the intelligent edge. And all of these technologies, as you probably have noticed, you're hearing more and more about, but in very small ways, are really beginning to take care of things that once took us so much time. Now, what's the primary catalyst that is causing this rapid advancement in technology and growth in artificial intelligence? Something very simple, something that everyone in this room has probably heard about this year, last year, 2017, 2016, and heck, actually since the 1950s we've been hearing about it. And that's artificial intelligence. So, to really dive in to why we're seeing such an exponential growth in this technology, we got to start with our history. We have to start with the human being. Now, human beings have always had a mission that's been comprised of two goals. The first being survival. We've always had a mission and a goal to survive. And speed. We always want to do things quicker. We want to do things faster. We want to do things more efficiently. That really can just help us survive better. Now, 200,000 years ago, when we first started walking the face of the earth, our goal was to reproduce, was to propagate the planet, ensure that the next generation of our species would survive. And to make sure that happened, we've invented a series of tools that have helped us do this. A lot of tools that today we really do take for granted. But it's all these tools and the series of tools that has gotten us to the point today with artificial intelligence. So I'm going to quickly dive into some of these tools, and I could dive into 1,001 different ones, but I think I'm going to show you some that you're relatively familiar with. Wow, you can feel the heat coming off that picture. Fire was one of the first tools that human beings ever created. It brought light into a dark world. It became a mobile source of heat and allowed us to travel during the nighttime hours across different continents. It also gave us increased nutrition because we're able to cook things. Fire is a very underrated but very powerful tool that kicked off this exponential growth of tools that we created throughout our history. The wheel. Now, if there's any one tool that we take for granted, it is this. As simple as the wheel is, think about what it's allowed us to do. It gave us increased mobility and allowed us to move heavy, great loads across vast distances. That thing you drove in today to get here, you may have very well been on a horse or walking if we didn't have the wheel. All modern transportation, minus a couple of things, functions based off of this tool that's allowed us to move faster and accomplish things more efficiently to attribute to our survival. Steel. Modern construction would not exist without steel, because steel allows us to build durable structures that are long-lasting, that can stand the test of time. Cars, airplanes, ships, bridges, this building. Steel has embedded itself in so many different facets of our lives, we really don't see it, but our modern-day infrastructure would not exist without it. And this was another tool that allowed us to do things faster and allowed us to survive more efficiently. The airplane. Can't say it's my favorite tool because I absolutely despise flying, but it's completely changed the way we interact with other people in terms of how we get to other people. And if you can tell, what is this thing made of? It's made of steel, fiberglass, and the wheel. So we can see here that some of the tools we've already made in the past have contributed to the tools of the future. And with the airplane, we gave flight to the wingless. Imagine traveling to a different country. Actually, the only way to get to a different country would be a ship. I'm still amazed. I can wake up at 5 a.m. in Seattle and be in Chicago by 3 o'clock in the afternoon. When you really start to think about what air travel has been able to do for us to give us speed and more efficiency in survival. Landing on a plane is still one of the worst things ever, by the way, just throwing that out there. The personal computer. Now this changed everything. It completely reshaped our productivity and our efficiency. When computers first started to become a thing, they were mainframes, and they took up entire rooms and were only able to process kilobytes of data that took hours. Well, now, I can bet 100% of the people in this room have a cell phone, very close to that, probably a smartphone. That smartphone is 60,000 times more powerful than those mainframe computers. It can process billions of computations a second. And one of our most recent tools, the Matrix, well, the internet, I guess I like to think of it as, has connected every human being around the world for the first time in our history and created an instant mechanism for us to share information. And that's never going to change. And we're never going to go back to what it was like before the internet. The internet, out of all the tools that I just referenced, truly was the number one catalyst to everything we're seeing with AI. If it was not for the internet, working actually in tandem with the personal computer, AI wouldn't even be a thought. So all of these inventions are responsible for altering our speed and ease of survival. We've created them out of a drive to make things easier for ourselves, to make sure that our future generations can survive more efficiently. Unfortunately, we've lost something along the way. Although we've gained efficiency and longevity, it's come at a very, very great cost. We're now connected 24/7, we work 24/7, and we obsess constantly over these tools that, in essence, were created to make our lives better. So the question I like to pose when we start thinking about AI and these new technologies is, what happened to our humanity? And ultimately, maybe we haven't even had the chance to sit back and think about what it means to be a human being in this technological world that we're stepping into. But at the end of the day, the reason why we're seeing such a rapid advancement in technology and artificial intelligence is because of data. There's a book by Microsoft distinguished engineer Dr. James Whittaker called Little Book of the Future. And he goes over the next 15, 20, 30, 40, 50 years what our world is going to look like as we adopt and embrace these new technologies and everything becomes integrated. And he makes a very profound statement in this book that I believe really encapsulates all of this. And that is, data is power, world-changing power. I mean, if you think about it, data is the new oil. And in fact, data is actually more valuable than oil ever could be. If you look at the 5 most powerful companies on the planet right now, what are they? Apple, Google, Amazon, Microsoft, Facebook. Why? Because they have all the data. We have willingly given them all of our data. And we all have our opinions, of course, on how that data is used, but at the end of the day, they're using that data to further the development of all of these technologies that we've come to know. And at the end of the day, everything that we experience on a daily basis, sight, sound, touch, taste, smell, can be broken down into a series of zeros and ones for computers and technology to digest. The next 15, 20 years, anything that has to do with data can and will be done better by a machine. And that's just the cold, hard truth. I know it's something scary to have to think about. Could my job be outmoded by a computer? Could my livelihood be outmoded by a computer? And unfortunately, it could be. But with that will come new opportunities. Jobs and different positions that we can't even predict will exist, will come into being in this new age of artificial intelligence. But 2 of the real questions to ask are, if machines can do everything better, where does that leave us? Where does that leave us in this grand scheme of life? And what will our lives look like when machines and AI start doing everything? Well, the answer to those 2 questions, I have absolutely no idea. Really, no idea. I've been racking my brain around it for so long as I've been in this space and have no idea what the answer is. But what I can tell you is that there is something called the singularity. And the singularity is coming, whether we want it to or not. Where computer intelligence and AI will meet, actually no, not meet, it will beat our own intelligence. And that's the only natural progression of this technology. There is no way to think about artificial intelligence without just automatically accepting that it will be smarter than us, it will be more capable than us. And because of this, the singularity is becoming a reality, right now in very small ways. There's a ton of different examples out there on the internet of showing what AI can do. Google's been working on some incredible things. Microsoft's been working on some incredible things. So the revolution is beginning. But the singularity is on its way. But bringing this back to the questions I pose about our humanity and what this is going to look like in this new world, maybe what we've been chasing all along with that drive for efficiency and survival, is our own humanity. Learning and discovering what it actually means to be a human being. I mean, we're actively developing the next intelligent species, and yes, I say species. But at the end of the day, we're going to have to sit back and take a look at ourselves and what it means to be a human being on this planet. So if AI's purpose is the singularity, where all work is done by machines, we don't have to worry about anything anymore, I think ultimately what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to sit back and decide, what is our place on Earth? And not only on Earth, what is our place in the universe? What is the purpose of being a human being? And it's an absolutely terrifying thing to think about. Nobody wants to think about this, nor does anybody have the time to think about this. When was the last time any one of you sat up in bed on Monday morning and was like, I'm going to ponder what it means to be a human today? Nobody, because we don't have time to do that, nor do we want to think about that. But in a world where we don't have to work, we don't have to do much of anything, what else are we going to think about to try and create continued progress for ourselves? Because for so long, our mission has just been to survive and find faster and more efficient ways of doing this. When that all changes and we don't have to worry about it, this is what we're going to have to do. We're going to figure out how we're going to work in tandem with this technology to keep growing and expanding. I mean, this is something out of pure fiction, but it's something we're going to have to accept. But at the end of the day, what are we going to be left to do when AI runs everything? I'll tell you what we're going to do. Quoting Doc James again, humans are explorers. We always have been. We've always been on a mission to explore, to discover new things, to create, be curious. Whether it's right or wrong, we still do it anyhow. We can know something's going to be completely terrible, but we just have that innate drive within us to be explorers, to figure that out. You know, when they were developing the atomic bomb, the scientists in the Manhattan Project knew what they were doing. They knew what they were creating. They even theorized that the moment they detonate that bomb, the Earth's atmosphere could go and set ablaze, kill us all. But they did it anyhow, because we're explorers. We have to figure out solutions to problems. And AI is only going to act as another tool and an extension of our innate drive to be an explorer. But ultimately, if it wasn't for our exploration, a lot of the tools that I even just mentioned earlier wouldn't exist. Fire, the wheel, airplanes, none of it would exist without our drive to be explorers. So ultimately, what's going to matter in an AI-fueled world when machines do everything, there's no more money, the scope of our society has changed forever? Have you thought about what our new currency is going to be? Laughter, smiling, hugs, chocolate? I'll take chocolate for everything I do. That sounds great. I don't have to worry about money anymore. But these are truly the fundamental questions we have to be asking ourselves as we continue to invest in this technology, as it takes over and completely reshapes our missions and our goals that we've had for over 200,000 years. So if you haven't already gathered, I'm extremely optimistic about AI. Sure, I've issued some warnings, but I think that's only necessary in this brave new world we're going to be stepping into. But I'm insanely optimistic about where we're going with this. And if that hasn't come across, then I guess I haven't been doing my job up here. But we're currently undergoing one of the largest paradigm shifts in human history. And it's being led by artificial intelligence and all of these new technologies that are coming to the forefront. Don't get me wrong, the future is an insanely scary thing. None of us like to think about the future. I know every time I think about the future I get scared. Sure, I'm optimistic, but it's a scary thing to think about. But right now what we're seeing in society is there are two groups of people. One group is ready to embrace these new technologies, is ready to march forward, progress into the next generation of society and humanity. And the other end is afraid. They are very afraid for what's to come. They're hiding in a corner, they're fearful, they want to go back to how it's always been. They don't want to think about the inevitable. So the one thing that the people in this camp can do best is try and work with the other side and show them that this is just the natural progression of our lives with technology. Yes, it's scary. When you really start weighing out the positives versus the negatives, to me, the positive will always outweigh the negative. And the abilities and the work and the discoveries that we're going to be able to make. So AI is the final tool, I believe, in our arsenal of tools that we've developed since we first stepped foot on this planet. It's going to help us turn all of these different things I've been talking about that seems like fiction into an actual reality. And it's going to push us to question ourselves, our species, and the very fabric of our own existence so we can figure out really what is the purpose of a human being. So even though, again, it's going to completely rechange the scope of work, the most important thing that it's going to do is make us question ourselves. So Sarah's AI-powered smart home, that story I gave in the beginning here, that's on the horizon. I know a lot of people who already have smart home technology in their homes. That's only a matter of time, and it's going to affect all of us. So we're truly in the golden age of humanity right now. It's upon us, it's here. And I think everybody in this room and everybody in general, should be proud to be living in a period that future humans are going to look back upon to figure out how AI began and what seeds were laid to create the brave new world that future generations are living in that allows us to do incredible things. And that's why artificial intelligence is the final tool.